What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Noah Gray here, tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Josh's channel and check out showmefootball.com for more.
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of showmeheadaddict.com, covering your Kansas City Chiefs. And the Chiefs just made what I consider to be a very risky move with their first round pick. We'll talk about why right after this. Ladies and gentlemen of the Chiefs Kingdom, after months of speculation of what the Kansas City Chiefs would do with their first round pick, we finally found out what that is tonight as they trade back from 31 with the Philadelphia Eagles to take over that 32nd overall spot. The Eagles went ahead and picked up Jahad Campbell, the toolsy linebacker, and then the Kansas City Chiefs would proceed to take their guy, Josh Simmons, offensive tackle of Ohio State, at 32 overall. A move that was not really shocking to many of us if you had been following this draft stuff for a while now. This was the guy that had the most smoke around his name involving the Kansas City Chiefs. He was the name that came up the most in mock drafts for the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not shocked at all. This was the pick. In fact, I pretty much anticipated this. As long as he was going to be on the board there at 31, it was going to be the pick there for Kansas City. I mean, there was too much noise around it, man. I mean, they reportedly loved him throughout the entire process. They got him in on a visit. They went to go visit him. They were at his pro day. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs loved Josh Simmons throughout this process. Now, I made a video about Josh Simmons on this channel, one that many of you probably saw already, and I've made my feelings about him pretty clear on this channel before. I am not a huge fan of this pick for the Kansas City Chiefs, and there's a few reasons for that. Now, I'll start by saying that I think he's a good player, like just raw talent, and looking at what he did in college, I mean, his tape is impressive. He was hard to move for opposing defensive linemen. I mean, he was a good pass protector on that left side of the offensive line for Ohio State. However, there's a few things about him why he really scares me for the Kansas City Chiefs, why I consider this to be a risky move. Number one, he's coming off that torn patellar tendon injury. And I feel like this is something that a lot of people have just kind of brushed off the shoulder. They look past it because he's such a talented player. They don't care about the torn patellar tendon. Well, I do, because this is an injury that not a lot of players ever come back from. In fact, I wanted to bring up this tweet from Jesse Morse, MD, on X, who commonly chimes in on football-related injuries. This was his take after the Chiefs took Josh Simmons, returning from a patellar tendon tear and subsequent repair. A study came out in February 2025 reviewing 80 NFL players with quadriceps and patellar tendon repairs. What does the data show? The risk for patellar tendon injury was higher for offensive linemen compared with other position groups. The return to play rate for quadriceps tendon injuries was greater than that for torn patellar tendon injuries. That means 45% of NFL players who suffer a patellar tendon tear never return to the field, never mind return to previous level or elite level. And that is what really scares me about this pick for the Kansas City Chiefs. All the talent in the world, also a lot of risk. A lot of people are rushing to the judgment table to say the Kansas City Chiefs nailed this one. This is a home run pick. You know, this was great. Slam dunk. I don't see it that way. There's a lot of risk here. Not to mention also the maturity concerns that have come out a couple of times. I know Todd McShay mentioned some maturity concerns with Josh Simmons. That's not really something you want to hear, given, just the amount of crap that the Kansas City Chiefs have had to deal with their players in the offseason over the last several years, bringing in yet another guy that has some character issues, some work ethic concerns. Don't love hearing that. I mean, typically I'm not a guy that reads too much into that, but when it's been an issue so often for the Kansas City Chiefs, and you're also taking a player that has injury concerns to go along with it, yeah, I mean, it's going to factor into the judgment a little bit. Another reason why I'm a little bit concerned about this pick for the Kansas City Chiefs is because Josh Simmons was a penalty machine over the past two seasons. And let's remember that He only played 6 games this past season before suffering the torn patellar tendon. So who knows how many penalties he truly would have racked up if he were to play the whole season. But 25 penalties over the past 2 seasons, that's not good. That is Juwan Taylor-esque right there. A guy that the Kansas City Chiefs, I think, have shown they're actively trying to replace by bringing in Josh Simmons, because even if Josh Simmons doesn't work out at left tackle, I think the plan is either for him or Jalen Moore to eventually take over at right tackle for Juwan Taylor, because I think it's safe to say this is Juwan Taylor's last year on the Kansas City Chiefs. The way his contract is structured, it looks like he's going to get cut for cap savings next year, but that's besides the point. Also, something else to note about Josh Simmons is that, you'll see a lot of people say that he was offensive tackle number 1 in this class, if not for the injury. That's debatable, but also that's not saying all that much in what is considered to be a very weak tackle class. Josh Simmons still has measurables that resemble more of an offensive guard. His pro comps, according to NFLDraftBuzz.com, were Jalen Mayfield and Jordan Morgan, both guards at the NFL level. There's a chance that this is yet another guy that's going to have to move inside for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I just think there's still a lot of risk here for the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs have to be sure that he's the guy. They have to be sure that this is the person that is going to solve their left tackle issues long-term. Otherwise, it's a wasted pick. And it's also a wasted pick as far as 2025 goes, because Josh Simmons isn't starting next year. Jalen Moore is going to get that shot to be the starting left tackle. We're going to see what he can do. They're paying him $15 million a year. No chance he doesn't start. Same situation for Juwan Taylor on the right side. Josh Simmons isn't playing, and I think that's kind of the plan, especially coming off the torn patellar tendon. They want to give him time to get ready physically before throwing him in to be a starting tackle in the NFL. And I will say, if the Chiefs are going to draft what they think is their left tackle of the future, I'm glad they're at least doing it now in a way where the guy is not forced to be thrown in year 1 to be the starting left tackle, because rookies just don't tend to do well at that left tackle position, especially when you're drafting at the end of the round. The Chiefs at least feel like they got a guy who maybe it would have went a lot higher if not for the injury. They're not going to get a chance to get a guy like this drafting at the end of the round. They're taking their shot. And I understand it. I understand the pick. I do. But it's not a pick that helps you next year. I really thought the Chiefs should use this opportunity to get more explosive. Jalen Moore's already your left tackle next year. So with that set in stone, basically, why not get a wide receiver or a running back out of this explosive running back class, or grab Luther Burden, who's still available there? And I would love to see the Chiefs trade up for him maybe tomorrow if he's still there. No idea why he's still available. Just talked about him the other day. But get explosive on offense again, man. That's what I want to see. This Josh Simmons pick doesn't help you next year. And I understand that the draft, it is a little bit about building into the future. But man, I would have loved to see the Chiefs draft a guy that makes them as good as possible right now. And Josh Simmons doesn't really do that. You look at the picks that the Baltimore Ravens made and the Philadelphia Eagles made right before the Kansas City Chiefs. They drafted damn good football players that are going to start tomorrow. And it's just no wonder that those teams are constantly in the positions that they're in. And I'm not saying that the Chiefs needed either of those guys, Malachi Starks or Jihad Campbell, but you just look at the way that those teams draft, and it's no wonder that they're constantly in contention. And the Chiefs are too, but this is a more important time, I think, in the Chiefs dynasty, where they need to bounce back from what was an embarrassing Super Bowl performance. And I'm just not sure Josh Simmons necessarily helps with that. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Josh Simmons and how I feel about this pick and some of the positives about it, because I don't think it's all bad. I don't necessarily hate the player, but we'll talk about that more in a minute. But real quick before that, I want to talk about a new app that's coming out, Penalty Verdict. If you're tired of opposing fans accusing the refs of helping the Kansas City Chiefs, you're going to want to check out Penalty Verdict, because it's going to be the perfect tool for football discourse next season. Whether you're sick of seeing your team constantly get screwed over by the refs, tired of hearing about how your team only wins because of the refs, or simply just desire fair play and accountability, then Penalty Verdict is the perfect app for you. Penalty Verdict is a new app that allows football fans to vote on penalty calls in real time on both NFL and college football games. With Penalty Verdict, you'll be able to engage with a community of football fans who desire accuracy and transparency in officiating. And not only does Penalty Verdict allow you to vote on and discuss penalties in real time, but you'll also have access to data and statistics on specific referees. And you can even see what your favorite team's win-loss record is with that referee heading the crew. You can use this information to make educated guesses on who's going to win each game, and earn even more XP, which can be used to place wagers and climb up leaderboards on Penalty Verdict. Unlock the next dimension of sports by engaging with real-time polling of referees, players, and teams. And lastly, view data-driven insights to have informed discussions about the games. While Penalty Verdict is still in the development phase, we would love to hear your guys' feedback on what features you want to see in the app for next football season. Invite your friends to join and share Penalty Verdict today, and follow Penalty Verdict on social media. So guys, that's Penalty Verdict, an app you're definitely going to check out for next football season. Link is down in the description in order to join that wait list, get email updates about the app, and make sure you guys leave feedback to Penalty Verdict about what features you would like to see for next football season. But that's definitely going to be a tool that I utilize. Would like to see you all do the same. But back to the video topic, guys. Some positives about the Josh Simmons pick. One, he's a freak athlete. There's no denying that. And I'm a big proponent of the Kansas City Chiefs prioritizing athletes in the NFL draft. Josh Simmons is a good athlete, and he did, show some good athleticism despite the torn patellar tendon injury that he's coming off of. And again, he's a good player. I don't hate the player, but the injury just really scares me. And that's where a majority of this risk factor comes from, is that torn patellar tendon injury. I think people are overlooking it. This is not an injury that guys typically come back from. It just isn't. I don't know if the Chiefs can say all they want that his knee looks good and we're comfortable after reviewing the medicals. You don't know until the guy steps out on a football field again. And you haven't seen him on an NFL football field, let alone a college football field, since the injury. So I don't know, man. I really hope the Kansas City Chiefs know what they're doing here. It seems like they know what they're doing most of the time, and I praised their offseason to this point, but they better be damn sure Josh Simmons is the guy, or else this is going to be another first-round pick down the drain, and I really don't want to see that. So I'm rooting for him. But the other positive is that the Chiefs, in the trade down to 32, also end up picking up another fifth-round pick, which I think is great, because since you're using a pick on left tackle, which isn't something that I necessarily wanted to see them do, because they still need a defensive tackle, they still need a defensive end, they still need a wide receiver, they still need a running back. You only have so many picks in the top 100 in the first few rounds. You're going to need those assets later in the draft to try and fill those needs that you weren't able to address in your most valuable picks. So I like picking up another draft pick in the 5th round. I think there's going to be some talent there. I think that could be where you see maybe the Chiefs take a running back in this draft, because this is a very deep running back class. And then you can work on the defensive line, maybe grab a wide receiver with your day 2 picks, something like that. But this just gives the Chiefs more options. So I do like the savvy trade down to pick up another asset for sure. But yeah, it's a lot of how I grade this trade and how I grade this draft pick is going to be contingent on, how Josh Simmons performs. So those are my general thoughts on the Kansas City Chiefs selecting Josh Simmons 32nd overall. I've made my feelings pretty clear on him for a while. You guys know I'm not the biggest fan. I think he's a good player. I like the tape. I'm just not sure about that torn patellar tendon injury. And I still would say that this is a project. A lot of people are acting as if he's not a project. Guys, he's not starting next year. He has a penalty issue. It's going to be a transition to the NFL, and he's coming off a devastating knee injury. This is a project again, and I just don't love taking a project left tackle again with one of your premium picks. So those are my thoughts. Definitely want to hear from you guys down below, though, what your thoughts are on the Kansas City Chiefs taking offensive tackle Josh Simmons with their 1st round pick. Let me know your thoughts down below. All that being said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. And make sure you check out my work on showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com for more. Last but not least, follow me on Twitter at showmefb. That's all I got for this one. I'll see you all in the next one. And as always, go Chiefs.